I was really, really upset the other night. You guys saw that. I think my biggest meltdown, my biggest crash out moment I've ever had on this channel. And rightfully so. I invest a lot of time, love, effort, attention into this football team. And I look at them somewhat as a representation of myself. When you're a fan of a team, you want them to fight the way you would fight, right? To care the way that you would care, and it didn't feel like they did. I love today that Matt Rule came on to the press conference and said they weren't ready for it and they didn't fight like they should have. They weren't mentally prepared, which feels like they haven't been mentally prepared to go into a game like that for 10 years now. And I don't know what world these guys live in where they think we can just show up and because we're ranked in the top 25 and because we have all of this national attention around us, that we're going to show up and beat a team who technically on paper we are more talented than. Time and time again, they let us down. And yeah, I think a lot of us reached our breaking point on Friday night. I for sure did. But I just wanted to start by saying that I really appreciated what Matt Rule had to say in the press conference today. We're not looking for moral victories, but to have your coach be solid and just be real about it feels pretty good. Because when you hear other coaches make excuses like Brian Kelly has in the past, you just kind of get annoyed with all that coach speak. And let's just get down to it. Let's just talk real for a minute. Be real with us because we're real with you. So welcome to the stream, guys. I'm a lot more calm, a lot more happy this week than I was to end my last. It's a big week because Northwestern's a pivotal game for Nebraska. It's a big week because this could be the game that gets them back on track. Obviously, it could seal the bowl game, but most importantly, it's a big week because this is the quote unquote easiest game left on the schedule. This is the last win where we can guarantee they're going to be the favorite. It's insane. I actually was looking right before I jumped in here with you guys. You look at the schedule. They've got Northwestern. They're a 7.5-point favorite. USC next week. Now, USC, we'll talk about them in a little bit. They have plenty of their own issues. I'm assuming they'll be the favorite, but it could be either way. It could be like a -2.5 deal. Nebraska +2.5 at home, just like Michigan. UCLA on the road. The way UCLA is playing, Nebraska is going to lose to them by at least 7 points. So if UCLA isn't at least a 4-point favorite in that game, I would be surprised. Penn State, by default, would be the favorite. And Iowa, I mean, the way they're playing, another team who's hot. There are a lot of hot teams on this back end, although Nebraska could just as easily win all of these as they could lose them. So it's a pivotal week, man. It's exciting. I haven't even looked at Northwestern much. I've been paying attention to them. They've won some games, and they're better than Nebraska is right now. However, if you go back over the body of 3 weeks, they're not. I think they're pretty much on the same level. Nebraska might be slightly better. You have to average them all out, right? I think we all have a tendency to look at the last game, especially the people on Twitter who tweet these extreme comments. You look at the last game and you think that is a representation of who this team is. And I've talked about it on the stream. Teams typically regress back to the mean. So if you were a 7, or let's say you're performing at a 70% every single week. Last week they performed at a 35%. The odds are they're going to perform at a 70% when they play against Northwestern. Now, we have seen Nebraska teams just totally fold, totally crumble, and then end up 5-7 or end up barely getting to 6 wins like they did last year, even when they got to 5-1 to start things off. But I'm banking on the idea that this Nebraska team isn't as bad as that most recent result. That most recent result was egregious. It was embarrassing, and I'm hoping that it was a one-off. And like Matt Rule said, they just were totally unprepared and unequipped mentally to go in and handle it. I saw this tweet. It says, since being at Nebraska, Matt Rule is now 1-10 after reaching his 5th win each season. 2023, he's 5-3, ended 5-7. 2024, 5-1, ended 6-6, which was last year. 2025, he started 5-1, obviously lost that game. So he's 1-10 after 5 wins. It's crazy to think about. Like, how has Matt Rule not been able to get his guys to buy into this idea that they are not the team they think they are when it says 5-1? Really, they're 3-1 because 2 of their wins don't count as wins. Those are scrimmages, Akron and Houston Christian. And at what point do you start to take these games more seriously and realize you have to fight for your freaking life because the other guy across from you wants it worse than you do, apparently. And we've seen it so many times before. This week's a big game because it'll tell us if this team has the makeup to be more than just what they have been. Is this team the team that can go and get that 8th, 9th win? Be a team that, makes that jump for Matt Rule that we expected them to? Or is it the same old, and we just make these same excuses that we always do every single season? Need more talent. Is that true? need different coaches. That might be. But is Nebraska not loaded with enough talent to beat Minnesota? Is Nebraska not loaded with enough talent to beat Northwestern? They absolutely are. So make the jump, stop all this nonsense. And I'm just tired of sitting here wishing that they would get their shit together. And I'm waiting for them to actually do it and to calm us all down and to make us realize, wow, this is a competent staff. This is a competent team. And we're ready to rock business as usual. But it hasn't been business as usual since Bo Pelini's been here. You get my point. I'm looking forward to what the outcome is going to be. It's a very important game. One more thing before I get to the super chat or the live chat. Today they announced the USC game is going to be at 6:30 Lincoln time. First off, let's freaking go. The blackout at night is what we had all hoped for. We got it. It's going to be an electric environment. One of the best games I've ever been to, period. And I told you guys on the stream a couple weeks ago about all the amazing games I've been to around the country. The blackout or the night game environment at Nebraska when they played against Michigan State in 2015, obviously Nebraska was a slight dog. They came back to win that game, was so amazing. It felt so freaking good. I bet we would feel that type of vibe in this moment 2 weeks from now. So I'm excited for it, and we all hoped for it. Thank God we got our wish, right? That was something we were all kind of questioning with Penn State's downfall. But yeah, something to look forward to at least. You know, I like to say look forward to, but if they end up losing to Northwestern or they don't look like themselves, it's like, what am I doing? Spending, it's going to cost me at least a G, right? So I'm spending $1,000 to go out to Nebraska to watch them just play like they did against Wisconsin in 2017. That's 2019 Ohio State's the last one I went to, where they just looked terrible. I've spent so much money watching this team be bad. It's disgusting, but we're going to move past that. Get to a couple comments, then we'll get to some other things I have to say. Jim, thanks for being here. Thank you for the 1177. He says, watch the reaction, but was speechless. Well, I had enough words for both of us, brother. Don't worry. He says, better clean it up quickly. Stay healthy, and for Christ's sake, GBR. Dude, they need to figure it out right now. And I don't think it's a personnel situation. I don't think it's a play style situation completely. I think it is in terms of how the offense is operating. The offense with their slow developing routes, these plays that aren't allowing Dylan to get the ball out fast enough, that's an issue. The tackling on defense, that's an issue. But for the most part, this team is competent enough. They have good enough players. They need to be able to beat Northwestern. Come on, you're at home. You're in a bounce back spot where you're desperate. This is a very, very desperate Nebraska team at this point. Don't win this game, and you are legitimately in danger of missing a bowl game. This is beyond desperation. I feel really good about the spot. I don't know how I feel about the team. Honestly, I bet this team religiously. Like I'd say I bet them 90% of the time, right? This is the first game of the season where I'm like, geez, I might not bet on Nebraska. I don't think I can. You're giving me 7 points with Northwestern, who's been hot. I mean, Nebraska's supposed to be the better team, and they are talent-wise. They've got way more resources, but my money on them, I don't know. Do I trust? Right now, I don't. They're like a bad girlfriend who disrespects you constantly. You don't get a lot of trust. Wade, he says, why is everyone afraid to ask coach? Wouldn't it help to say he is staying? I know people say it's not a distraction, but has to be in all players' minds, especially when coach says he loves Penn State. Yeah, I'm sure it is in there, or was in their minds. He came out and made a really definitive statement when he went on that Pat McAfee show last week. I don't think you can get much more clear than that. The problem is if you just say I'm staying, it's the same thing every other coach around the country has said for years. And what happens every single time? They end up leaving. Matt Rule did it. Lincoln Riley did it. Those are two of the most notable ones that I can remember. I believe Brian Kelly. Who else? Kalen DeBoer, I don't know if he said it or not. But anyway, there are a lot of teams who lose their coaches after the coach says, I'm all in. So Matt Rule's statement wasn't, I'm all in, I'm staying. It was, I love Nebraska. I'm building here. It makes sense for me to be here. He sold you on the idea, and he didn't just feed you filler words or fluff, right? So you got what you wanted if you're a player. You got the commitment, essentially, in the best way you could get it. You got the commitment that says if he leaves, it will tarnish his brand. If he leaves, people will be able to point to that forever and say, wow, Matt Rule really went all in like a lying car salesman, said all of these great things about Nebraska and then dipped. It's a lot deeper of a wound now that he said those positive things in the way he did on national TV than if he would have just said, yeah, no, I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. I love Nebraska. So we got what we needed. I don't know that last week had any, like the conversations about the coaching hire and Matt Rule potentially being a candidate. I don't know that that had anything to do with Nebraska losing to Minnesota. I don't think it did. I think it was very simple. The team didn't play very hard. They missed way too many tackles. They weren't fiery on offense. Dillon looked confused for half the game, not getting the ball out. The 9 sacks obviously was a combo of the offensive line, the running back, and Dillon. It was just a total mess that I don't think had anything to do with the coaching stuff. So complete team meltdown is what it was. It was a mental meltdown. Nebraska, if they played Minnesota again, they absolutely can beat them, or they could keep it close, or whatever you want to say. The problem was on that night, they were just totally unprepared, right? So I'm not worried about Matt Rule and what he has to say. I don't trust any of these coaches anyway. No disrespect to Matt Rule. Love Matt Rule. Hope he stays. But even if he said I'm staying at Nebraska, it means absolutely nothing, as we've seen time and time again. Steve with the extremist take. Northwestern 42, Nebraska 12. Steve, if this happens, if Northwestern wins by 30 points, DM me. I'm going to have to send you, what's my unit size? 200 right now? I'll send you $200. Just, you owe me nothing. I'm just going to send you 200 if Northwestern wins by 30. I don't see that happening in any world, and I'd love to be punished for it, because I'd be so shocked if that happened. So, yeah, just DM me if that happens. Northwestern 30-point win. Brad, thanks for being a member. I am still really upset, Connor. This is the only online stream I've watched in 3 days. I'm tired of being disappointed. Well, Brad, thank you for coming back. I love to grieve with you. I love to try and dive into this and understand what the hell's happening with all of you who've been on my channel and leaving comments. So it's like being with my friends, right? But as upset as we are, there's still a lot to look forward to. And as upset as we are, you have to kind of decide, was this a game that Nebraska lost for mental reasons, or was this a game Nebraska lost because they don't have the right players and they don't have the right coaches to go out and win? If it was a mental thing, then that was an anomaly. It was a blip in the system, and Nebraska's going to be able to bounce back and win going forward. If it was a player issue, if it was like a talent issue, if it was a coaching issue, then I get why you're really upset and you're disappointed, because the rest of the schedule is not getting any lighter. It only gets tougher from here. Minnesota was, I mean, hindsight, they were a really tough challenge, but Minnesota was the worst of their back end. They were a worse team than USC, a worse team right now than UCLA, a worse team than Penn State in theory, and a worse team than Iowa. So yeah, it's a lot, Brad. I know. Rushy says, did you watch the Rule presser? I watched the whole thing, man. It was good. I liked it. What's this say? Trey says, press conference this afternoon was interesting. Coach said he couldn't get the team and other coaches on board with this being a tough game. Some entitlement issues, culture issues. I don't know. So, people are people. I don't know if it's an entitlement deal. I don't know if it's a culture thing. If the culture feels pretty good at Nebraska. But the reality is, if you got worked by Minnesota in that way, which they did, then there has to be something deeper than players, right? Nebraska has the talent to match up with Minnesota. They have the talent to beat Minnesota, and not doing so. Minnesota had more sacks than Nebraska had points. So they were totally off the rails. That's why Rule said what he said. It's way deeper than play on the field. It's a total mental thing, which was the same thing when they played against Michigan back in 2023. And the same thing that happened multiple times when they played against Minnesota in the past at home when they were big favorites, 7.5-point favorites. Minnesota's whole team's out for sickness, and then they come in and work Nebraska the entire way through. Purdue had beaten Nebraska down in the same ways. There's something going on with the players and coaches. Obviously, this 1 week, hopefully it was an anomaly, and hopefully he figures it out. I think the idea that he's able to call them out, address that publicly, it's a bit of public shame, right? If you're a player at Nebraska, it's embarrassing. I mean, I would hope it's embarrassing. If you're not embarrassed by it, then get the fuck out. But I would hope you feel publicly shamed, like, man, my coach really just threw us under the bus, as he should. He did make one comment. He's like, oh, it's on the coaches, it's on me, and he didn't say the players directly. But I was like, no, just call them out. These are adult men. They need to be called out. It's good character building moment. It's good for them to want to dial in and get better, But he wouldn't do it. Shoulda. But he made enough comments and enough points that we all understand and we get what happened. But at the end of the day, like you said, it's on him to get people locked in and get them bouncing back. So we'll see. Nightmare says, God help us if we lose this game. If we do, it's TJ time. I don't know what TJ is going to do different. You know what I mean? I'm not really sure. Like, Nebraska's issues run deeper than just the quarterback right now, right? Is TJ really going to be a solutions provider? Jose says, I knew we were going to get dominated by the Gophers, and Malachi Coleman has all these cool picks catching all over us. I'm pretty sure Malachi Coleman had one catch. Didn't he? I did see one picture of him, but let me see right here, just so I can confirm this. If he was catching all over us and I just missed it, I'd love to know. Malachi Coleman had one catch for 15 yards. Okay, so don't worry. It wasn't all these pictures. It was just one picture. Malachi Coleman can flex, but not too hard, just a little bit. Happy for Malachi, though. He got his opportunity. Emmett, thank you for being a member. Thank you for the $5 super chat. 30-21. I just did my post game from last week and my Northwestern preview on the Tunnel Walk Talk. Awesome, Emmett. People can go check out the Tunnel Walk Talk if you guys want to see a pregame or a preview for Northwestern. I'll be back here on either Wednesday or Thursday to talk about the Northwestern game. Jason with the optimism. He says, turning point game for sure. I'm expecting them to come out with their hair on fire, GBR. So here's the issue. You'll watch the game on Friday. Connor has a complete meltdown. The most vulgar and crass stream you've ever been a part of. The most depressed I've ever been. And you feel like the world is falling down. I felt like the world was falling down. You get to Monday. You've watched everything that happened in college football as a whole. And you're like, okay, there are some people, some teams who have it worse than us. The sky is falling, but it hasn't hit the ground yet, right? Then you get to Wednesday or Thursday. I just watched Northwestern. Nebraska's locked in. Oh my God. Nebraska's going to beat the brakes off these guys. So you're just there on Monday, Jason. I'll probably get there, but give me until the end of the week because I'm still healing. I'm still in mourning. I felt so violated on Friday. I was such a victim, and I'm never a victim, ever. I was such a victim on Friday night. Ugh. I saw another comment that I liked. Following up on the press conference, it was something about Matt Rule being pissed, and you could tell Matt Rule was really pissed at the way that game went. He was pissed at the coaches, he was pissed at himself, he was pissed off about the players. That was awesome. That's what we need, and that's what we have to expect our coach is going to do. It's holding people accountable. Go for Insight says Dylan has been holding onto the ball long all year. Yeah. I don't know what the hell is going on with that. That's an obvious thing that they've talked about it with Matt Rule. And he's like, yeah, it's a combo of this, combo of that. Okay, but let's address that one issue. Why can't that be corrected? Who is the culprit? Is it Dylan? Do you tell Dylan, throw the ball away? Or is no one addressing it? Is Dylan just allowed to roam free and do what he wants? Is it that the wide receivers are getting no separation? Is it that he's afraid to take those 50-50 shots? What is it? I would love an answer to that question. From a football perspective, I'm not a football coach. So just teach me, as a fan who's interested, why the hell does Dylan hold on to the ball forever and take sacks? Last year, I critiqued Shedeur Sanders for doing that. Shedeur, it looked like he just didn't want to drop his completion percentage. So the dude was taking sacks left and right, running in circles. It was a mess. It didn't look good. Obviously caused him to fall in the draft stock, right? Dylan's draft stock's pretty low right now, I would have to guess. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, what is the deal with holding onto the ball, and why hasn't someone brought this up and talked about it? I don't know, man. Thrower. Gopher says Dylan's a great thrower, not a great processor. And he says the Minnesota game was way more enjoyable than the Indiana win. Which Indiana win? Which one are you talking about? Jose says they gave up at some point in the game. I'm aware of that. Hell yeah, they did. 9 sacks seems like more than mental. It's more than mental. Yeah, it's 2 of your starting offensive line going down, right? You had Rocco Spindler go out with a hand injury. You had Elijah Pritchett go down with, he got kicked out of the game for targeting. His mental is just, he's got to lock the hell in. What the hell is going on with Pritchett? But yeah, you're down 2 of your starting linemen. I'd argue those are 2 of your best linemen in theory. Pritchett's supposed to be your best one. At least he's the highest paid. Rocco Spindler, the most experienced, the vet from Notre Dame. You lose your 2 best linemen, and yeah, that's going to freaking hurt. That's another thing. You've got to, if you're going to critique, let's at least be honest with what happened. I barely mentioned that in my stream the other night. I just lost my shit completely and didn't even touch on the offensive lineman getting hurt, I don't think. I was just a total mess. But, they did go down some linemen. That contributed to the fact that they gave up a total of 9 sacks and that Minnesota broke that record. But hopefully that bounces back this week. They're going to get their guys back, and hopefully it looks better. Hopefully. Jonathan, thank you for the $5 super chat. Going to be a battle. I'm predicting 28-17 Nebraska. Crazy you can predict that right now, brother. 11-point win. I can't. Right now, I can barely get over picking Nebraska to win. As a fan, I'm picking Nebraska to win, but as a neutral party, I'm taking Northwestern +7. It's a no-brainer right now. I'm on Northwestern +7. And that means that I think Northwestern could either win or Nebraska's going to keep it within a score, like within one touchdown. I'll probably get there with you. I'll probably drink too much Kool-Aid. But we're not there right now. I'm still scarred. I'm still traumatized. Let's see. Jose says, shout out to SoCal Connor. I live near Victorville. Driven through Victorville many times. I think I drove through there going to Vegas a bunch. Say my last name, please. Bueno? You want me to say Bueno? Why? But I did it. I did what you wanted. Judy says Pritchett's had 15-yard penalties in almost every game he's been in. It's tough. Forrest says you've mentioned it a couple times, but missing Malcolm's also hurting the secondary. Everyone having to shift, and the only one to keep up is Sierra Wright. It does. It hurts the secondary, but they have such good DBs. I'm not worried about that as much. Like they run, they run with 5 guys, and they're all studs. The guy who really came in and shifted things was Rex Guthrie, and then that moved some other guys over. I mean, I'm not too concerned with the DBs still. The issue for Nebraska is 100% the quarterback, the offensive line, and the defensive line. Those are the issues. And then you can argue the play calling to some degree on offense, which I'm still confused by the play calling. Dana needs to open it up. The wide receivers are solid. Linebackers are good enough. Secondary is good enough. I'm just not into the secondary argument, you know what I mean? But I get it for us. He's gone. Need him back. Daniel, thanks for being a member for 11 months. One more month and you get the gold corn. Wow. Both my teams are 5-2 at least, GBR and Let's Ride. Who's your other team, Daniel? I'm unfamiliar. Talus says a 7-5, a disappointing season. I would say yes. It would, in theory, it would be an improvement on last year, but we're not looking for one game improvements when the team should have won 7 last year. I look at last year as a 7-win season because they should have been in the 7 range. They should have had a chance for 8 in the bowl game. And this year that meant they needed to get to 8 minimum. So 7 would be majorly disappointing for me. It would have me asking a lot of questions. And as optimistic as I'd be about next year to get to like 9 wins, the way I envision this season going was we saw a jump from Dylan. We saw the offense get better. The offense was supposed to score 30-something points a game. They scored 0. In theory, they scored 6 because their special teams did it. But they scored 0 as an offense. And that was really disheartening. If we went into next year and the offense hasn't taken the step they needed to, they haven't made that jump. If we go into next year and Nebraska's off a 7-win year, why am I expecting anything better? Dylan's going to be in his last year. He's been on a 6-win and a 7-win team. I'm not too inspired by that. Nebraska has a chance to start the season top 25, but it's a disappointment, absolutely. It would be a major letdown. The vibes would be unbelievably low going into the next season. You can talk about the offseason national championship and hype all that shit up all you want, but when you've got your one shot with this 5-star quarterback, when you have your one shot with this group of coaches, and when you're in year 3 of Matt Rule and the narrative that sits around that, you got to get to 8 wins. It's imperative they get to 8 wins with a chance to win 9 in their bowl game. A 9-4 Nebraska team going into the offseason, I mean, we'd be hyped. The transfer portal would be hot. You have all these young players who are coming up who are being developed. It would be a really strong offseason, I think, and it would lead us to believe that they were a contender next year. You got to win 8. That's where I'm at. 8's the minimum. I will say, we talk about Nebraska being down bad, but there are other teams who are down worse, Wisconsin being one of them. I saw today that they released a statement supporting Luke Fickell, despite disappointment and frustration with the Badgers season. The Badgers are all-time low right now. I mean, I've never seen, since Nebraska joined the Big Ten, Wisconsin looking this shit. And the problem is, it's not that they have one bad season, it's that they're crumbling. The infrastructure is gone, and it's almost like they need to rebuild completely. However, they're now backing this coach who just started his rebuild a few seasons ago. He's in year 3, just like Matt Rule is, and they've made no progress. They've only seen negativity ever since he's gotten there. They go out and get these guys in the transfer portal. They try and switch their identity, and it just keeps failing. Why they are keeping him makes no sense to me. Maybe it's a testament to the idea that they can't get any better. They're like, oh, well, who are we going to hire? Some coordinator from another school? No, maybe we want to give Fickle more time. Maybe he's too expensive to get rid of. I don't know. But I do know Nebraska's not that down bad. You know who else they aren't as down bad as? Wait, let me pull this up. Let me find it first. It was an ACC team. You guys are very familiar with them. One of Nebraska's former players is there. One of their former coaches is there. Florida State. I watched this with joy. So I'm a Tony White fan. I wanted him to be successful when he got to Florida State. You know, I'm not a hater. This guy's trying to make career moves, you know, climb the ladder of coaching. Going to Florida State was that next step. And they've been extremely bad post Alabama this year. So Stanford's not very good. They have a new coach. They have the old Colts coach. And they beat Florida State by 7. Florida State's on a 4-game losing streak. My God, they've only beaten Kent State, East Texas A&M, and Bama, which is a really impressive win. But they're beyond a non-contender in the ACC. They're abysmal. And the coaching situation for Mike Norvell is he's screwed. What are you going to do? You're going to hire new coordinators again next year. Tony White's gone most likely. Gus Malzahn would come back with him if they would allow for it. But what do you do at Florida State? He's in year 5 or something. Just you restart. Imagine Matt Rule in year 5 at Nebraska, and this is what his record looks like. You're fired. You're done. It's cooked. It's over. Good freaking luck. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. I mean, they said that they might not fire him because it's going to be a $100 million total cost to fire everybody and to bring somebody else new in. But at least Nebraska's not Florida State. My God, them, Florida. We could be going through a coaching situation right now. The one good thing about Florida is they have a really good shot to land Lane Kiffin, it sounds like. So if I was a Florida fan, I'd be very excited in that regard. But outside of that, everything else is just interesting. I hope Lane Kiffin doesn't leave Ole Miss. It sounds like he's going to. I just wish he wouldn't. Okay, so you guys watched football with me this weekend. There were some good games. One of my favorite games to watch was Vanderbilt LSU. So you guys know I flew out to my dad's house in Vegas Saturday morning, bright and early. Went there, popped this game on, and this was one of the first plays I saw. But I didn't actually see this block until later on. Look at this block and how good it is. 1 to the ground, 2 to the ground. Pavia has all the time. And then the receiver makes that great catch. Bam, bam. I mean, textbook, beautiful. Just looks like an NFL player among boys. That's LSU. Don't forget that. Is that Whit Weeks out there? God, Whit Weeks just gets bodied. Bam, done. And then so a linebacker and a defensive lineman just wrecked. Vanderbilt and their coach and Pavia, everything about Vanderbilt is just so attractive and appealing. You like to be around good energy. You like to be around teams that win. They come from nothing. They are gutter boys, and they figured out how to get it done. I'll tell you what, that team does not play like Nebraska does, where they get ahead of themselves and think, oh, we're top 25 and we're going to go out and just win games. No, they fight like they're 1-11 every single week. They fight like they've got a Vanderbilt logo on the side of their helmet. Maybe Nebraska needs to change their logo. Get the red N off. You don't get that red N until you earn it. Just go blank white helmets. There's no brand. You're a freaking nobody until you prove that you're a somebody. Idea, Matt Rule, what are we doing? Just go blank helmet. You don't deserve to wear the N unless you perform at that level. That's how I would look at it. Maybe I'm extreme. I was looking at Fox's Big Ten Power Rankings. I don't even know who this is. Michael Cohen. Okay. I have some disagreements here. I just want to give you guys some thoughts on where the Big Ten stands right now. So I think this is perfect. The top 6 makes complete sense. This I'm a little off on. Iowa leads the pack, but I'd put UCLA in front of Minnesota still. And I'd probably put Washington in front of Minnesota as well, although Minnesota is off a big loss, or Washington is off a big loss to Michigan. I think Washington would beat Minnesota. Last weekend was an anomaly. Do not get in your head that Minnesota is some great Big Ten team. I think they're still average, just like Nebraska is. Washington's just a little bit better, I think. They have more upside. Their quarterback threw a lot of picks against Michigan, but, he's a young quarterback. Michigan has a good, experienced defense. In the bottom, I would argue right now for a power rating sake that Maryland's above Nebraska, even though they just beat them. But power ratings, man. Maryland lost to UCLA by 3. Should have won that freaking game. And here's my tier system. Wait, let me clear my tiers so we can go through this together. Bang, bang, bang. We're doing a little tiers list. We got 4 categories. I'm going to show you where I think all of the teams in the Big Ten belong. I really like this site Tier Maker. It's fun to use, fun to play with, especially on live streams. Okay, we're 99, 100% of the way done. Screen share, bang. Here are my categories. We've got playoff bound, hot and ready, just question marks across the board, and better luck next year. So we'll just go random team. Northwestern, they're a question mark team still. They've got to prove it. Are they a team that could go and win 8 games, or are they a team who is going to finish with 6? I don't know. Prove it to me. Indiana, playoff bound. That's obvious. USC, where would you put them? Question marks. USC's coaching situation and talent situation is as interesting as Nebraska's. I will say Nebraska has a 2-year difference in terms of how much time they've had to build their program. So Lincoln Riley's facing a lot more heat and pressure than Matt Rule is. I believe Lincoln Riley came in 21. No, was it 22? 21 season, Caleb. 22 season, he won the Heisman. So he has 2 years on Matt Rule. Matt Rule's first season was 23. His 1 year. Whatever. Doesn't matter. 1 year. USC, losing to Notre Dame the way they did was despicable. USC losing to Illinois when they should have won that game was despicable. They are a good team. They have a ton of talent, but they're very much a Nebraska style program right now. They're still in rebuild mode. They have an identity, but they're still struggling in the Big Ten. USC's got a lot of question marks. They could lose just as many as they could win on this back end. They still have to play Nebraska. They still have to play Oregon. They still have to play UCLA. And I'm not kidding you. USC is good enough to win 2 of those 3 games, but they are also bad enough to lose 2 of the 3 or 3 of the 3. If we're being real, if Nebraska shows up, they could lose all 3. Ohio State is playoff bound. Michigan is hot and ready. They're playing well right now. They're not going to the playoff, I don't think, but they're going to be a team that could win 9, even 10 games. Iowa, hot and ready. God, Iowa beats Penn State. They scored 25-something points. I think they were down 10 at some point, came back to win. Iowa's not built to come back and win. Their offense figured it out. Iowa's a real threat right now. Maryland is a question mark team. They've got to step up. They're a borderline hot and ready, but they have dropped their last 2 games. They still got work to do. Really young talent on their roster. Penn State, we're going to put them as a question mark. They could turn things on. They still have the potential to. They almost beat Iowa. They've got their new coach, so they're playing a little bit more inspired. I'm borderline with better luck next year, but depending on what the Ohio State outcome is, they could still be a question mark team who wins 7, 8 games, which, given their circumstances, would be okay. Michigan State, I would leave them in better luck next year. Their season's pretty done. Where are they standing wise? Michigan State's 3-4, and they still got to play Michigan this weekend. They're a double-digit dog. They've got to play Minnesota on the road, Penn State at home, at Iowa versus Maryland. Yeah, I think they're cooked. I don't even know if they're going to get to a bowl game. They need to. Yeah, they're not going to a bowl game. They're cooked. Next tier, we'll go Illinois, hot and ready. They're 5-2. Another team, stacked talent-wise, lost really bad to Indiana, so they're not a playoff team, but they could make a run and do what they did last season, finish with 9 or 10 wins. I think they got to 10. Nebraska, big question mark. Who the hell are you? Are you going to step up and show us that you can win 8 or 9 games, or are you going to go back and revert to what you've been in the past, which is 6-6 at best? I mean, Nebraska could go either way. I don't know what to think about this team right now. Obviously, it's a fresh wound. We could easily fix this with a win over Northwestern and a win over USC. My God, get to 7-2, and now, bam, Nebraska's right back in it. Playoff team, probably not, but you're talking about getting to 10 wins, and who would have thought they had the chance to do that? I'm not making that prediction right now. I can barely predict a win over Northwestern, but I'm just saying everything's in front of them, and it's exciting still to be a Nebraska fan. There's still a hope. If you believe the team can buy back in, there's hope. Okay, Purdue, better luck next year. You're done. Purdue made strides from last season. Ryan Walters is gone. He's now at Washington as defensive coordinator. Their new staff's obviously better. Quarterbacks looked good. They're not going to win a lot of games to rebuild, but Purdue is going to be on the rise. Barry Odom's got them going. Rutgers, same thing. I think they're kind of done. Where's Rutgers sit, actually? Rutgers is 3-4 in the Big Ten. Schedule says, they got to play Illinois, Maryland, Purdue, Ohio State, Penn State. I mean, again, another team I'm not predicting to make a bowl game. They're going to beat Purdue, let's say. They could beat Penn State. They'd have to beat Maryland as well. This stretch is going to be brutal for them. Maryland at home's tough. I'm saying no bowl game. Anyway, so Rutgers out of it. Wisconsin, absolutely out of it. I don't know why they're not firing Fickle. We talked about it a second ago. That team's down bad. They have not figured anything out since he first got there. Better luck next year, and really better luck when you get a new coach in who has a stronger identity or tie to this brand, because Luke Fickle's just not it. Wisconsin's not going to win the brand of football that Luke Fickle wants to play, unfortunately. If he would have, if he would have kept Phil Longo and they would have been able to transition it, it maybe would have made sense. But now that we're on to our second OC and, things just aren't working out, I can't buy into his hype. Oregon, obviously playoff bound. These are the three best teams, arguably the three best teams in the country, up there with Alabama and Georgia right now. So interesting how top heavy the Big Ten is. Minnesota, we're putting at a question mark. They did beat Nebraska when they were kind of on life support. They were looking kind of average, and then the Nebraska game comes, they dominate. Is this a turning point for them? Very well could be. This could be another 8-9 win PJ Fleck team. It could just as easily be a 7-win team, which for Minnesota standards, I don't think that's too bad. Washington, question mark, lost to Michigan in a big way, 17-point loss. Things started to look good in that game for them. I think it was tied 7-7 at halftime. Damon Williams had some good throws, and then he just had some stupid interceptions. I mean, back-to-back interceptions. I think one was inside his own 20. I watched that game. It was tough. I really wanted Washington to keep it close. I wanted Washington to win. I want to see Jed Fish be good, just in case he's Nebraska's next head coach. But, couldn't get it done. Last team, UCLA. They're hot and ready. UCLA is 3-0 right now. UCLA is a 24 or 25-point dog to Indiana. Look, I get Indiana's good. But UCLA, the way they're playing, they have Nico Iamaleava. They have an elite play caller. And they already had a team who I thought was pretty good last year and returned a lot of the same players going forward. So I'm pretty good on UCLA, or pretty hot on UCLA. Right now, if Nebraska played them, I don't know what the line would be. I would say Nebraska at UCLA minus 3.5. I couldn't take Nebraska to win that game. So, these are my tier rankings for the Big Ten. Don't know if you guys agree. You can tell me if I missed one or if you think somebody's misplaced, but it's a lot of muck in the middle, a lot of questionable teams. And some will try to say, no, USC's better than that. They aren't, brother. USC's just as down bad as Nebraska is. They're a mess. They're just as down bad as Washington is. The difference is they have more top-tier talent. They've got some more guys who are 5 stars or borderline top-tier 4 stars, but they can't put games together. They're not a complete team, and they've got some serious coaching issues. Lincoln Riley has got to get their shit figured out. So that's what it is. One more thing. So this is the Big Ten standings currently. I wanted to go to Big 12 standings, talk about one of my favorite teams this year, Cincinnati. Cincinnati currently 6-1. They're 4-0 in the conference. They're tied with BYU. Check out this freaking schedule. Obviously, we knew they were going to beat Oklahoma State, but now they get Baylor at home. I think they're a 5 or 6 point favorite to Baylor. Imagine that. At Utah, home against Arizona, home against BYU, at TCU. They will be favored against Baylor. I don't think they'll be favored against Utah. They will be favored against Arizona. They will be favored against BYU. They could be favored against TCU. They're going to potentially win 4 of these last 5 games. They are a legit Big 12 title contender, which makes them, if you're a title contender in the Big 12, that means you're a playoff contender, because any team can win any game in the Big 12. We saw this week, Texas Tech, the dominant, the most paid team in that conference, the team who thought they could compete in the SEC or the Big 10. They went to Arizona State, and they got beat down pretty good. They lose by 6. They lost by 4. But that score looks closer than it actually was. Arizona State won that game, and they won it definitively. Anyway, my point in saying all this is, and by the way, BYU is a 2.5-point dog to Iowa State this week, who, as good as Iowa State is, they're nothing special. I say all this just because if you can get into the Big 12 championship game, you have a 50-50 shot of going to the playoff, which is insane to stay. Cincinnati right now is on the inside track. Do not be surprised if Cincinnati's a playoff team a month and a half from now. That's all I'm saying. Impressive win for Nebraska. Not looking for moral victories. I'm looking for legitimate victories, and that was a legitimate win. Cincinnati's a good team this year. We knew it as Nebraska fans. We watched it. We saw it. Really quick, you guys know our sponsor on this show is BroThrow. So you sign up on brothrow.com. You use code CORN. They give you $10 as a free bet. When you sign up, you have access to the website where you can bet on any of the games. NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, NCAA. They've got everything. MMA, soccer. They got every sport, okay? Right now, my favorite bet on the entire board, I got a couple of them. UCLA is right here. I could take UCLA plus 25 for $100. We're going to do it right now just because I like plus 25. Keyboard's off. Okay. 100 to win 100. If I would have just put this on FanDuel or DraftKings or anywhere else, that 100 would be to win 90. It would not be to win 100. So because I'm using BroThrow, I'm saving on the VIG. Because I've used BroThrow, I've earned an extra $11,100 when I'm betting on football. Thank God, because if I didn't earn that extra $11,100, I'd probably be down. Okay. Another game I like, Arkansas. Arkansas plays Auburn this week. I'm an Arkansas fan, okay? My dad lives 45 minutes away from the school. I've been to a couple Arkansas games. I love the vibes. Arkansas is at home against an Auburn team who could lose their coach at any time. Auburn couldn't get it done at home last week against Missouri. Arkansas lost by 3 points to Tennessee 2 weeks ago on the road. Lost by 3 points last week against Texas A&M. Texas A&M, one of the premier programs in the country. Texas A&M, who's going to be a playoff team, undefeated. And Arkansas almost won both of those games. This is the week they win. I'm so freaking confident in it. As an Arkansas fan, I'm very confident. I've already hammered this. I've already got my bets accepted. You guys can jump in here, though. I bet this earlier. So anyway, there are some other games I liked, but we'll go through those later in the week, like Oklahoma, Ole Miss. I kind of like Ole Miss, but we'll do this later. Just wanted to give you guys the opportunity to sign up on BroThrow and earn more money when you win. Don't piss your money away on FanDuel where they steal the VIG from you. It's nonsense. Okay. Hi, guys. I'm back to chat. Also, did you guys see that Giants game yesterday? Freaking electric. Giants were up at some point by like 14. Denver came back. Bo Nix played like crazy. And then the Giants lost at the end because they threw an interception. It was a mess. I just want to know if you guys saw that. That was a pretty good game. Let's see. Doug says, I've heard that Dana's still using Sat's playbook with a sprinkle of his own. Yep, that's pretty true. Jose says, Adam C on his show said he's learning the old language of the playbook. So how much of his own stuff is really there? Yep. Dana's still working through the Sat playbook, which is interesting. I kind of wish he just could do his own thing, but I don't think they wanted to just change completely overnight. Why the hell is Dana not using his playbook if we saw how poor that offense was last year? You know, Splurge, a lot of these coaches are living and dying by their own sword. So Mike Norvell wants to be involved in the play calls at Florida State. Billy Napier wouldn't give up his play calling duties at Florida, so he was essentially the OC. Who else? I heard someone else talking about it on a podcast I was listening to. Lincoln Riley's obviously one of them. Anyway, and Lincoln Riley's supposed to be one of the best play callers in the country. You guys watched that Notre Dame USC game. There was a play where they had USC's down, I think 3. Mekhi Lemon gets a sweep. And in the rain, it's pouring rain. Mekhi Lemon goes to throw the ball. It's a double pass, or it's a pitch to pass. He gets into position where he's about to throw it, panics because the defender's in his face, and then the ball slips out of his hand. Notre Dame gets it back, goes up another score. They're up 10. They end up winning the game. Lincoln Riley should never have called that play. It was just the timing was terrible. So my point in saying that is a lot of these coaches won't give up play calling duties. It's not a surprise that Matt Rule, the head coach, is still dictating how that offense is going to run to some degree. So I don't know. I don't know if we'll see a change in the future or what's going to happen. Some coaches are really stubborn and hard-headed. Matt Rule, I don't think is. So I think if there was something bad enough and he looked at it and said we could make a change and probably be better in the future, he would be open-minded to that. But we'll see. I don't know. I don't know how he feels about it. Jeff says Nebraska has to win 9 games this year for it not to feel like a failed season. 9 games in the bowl game. Yeah, I think that's true. 9 games regular season. I could get away with 8. Get away with 8, 9 is what I really had hoped. Um, Moss in here talking shit. Moss, you just like to create drama and cause chaos. I do appreciate some of your comments, but when you say stupid ones, I kind of just blow you off like I am right now. Chase, thank you for being a member. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Last week was a bad game. They overestimated how good they are. I get the feeling we thought we could walk through them and win with a B at best performance. Major bounce back here, 41-20 Nebraska. Chase, that's crazy to make such a big prediction. I respect it. You're confident. Maybe you're right. I could see Nebraska winning by 20. I can't see them winning by 20. I'm gonna be real with you, brother. I can't. I could see Nebraska winning by 10. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they're so in their head that they have bought into the hype and the bullshit that they're really good. They haven't done anything yet. They barely squeaked out a win against Cincinnati. They got their ass beat by Michigan in almost every phase. They got so lucky and escaped with only a 3-point loss. I don't know why they're walking around with their head held high, feeling like, oh, we're Nebraska, we're good, this, that. You could have lost to freaking Maryland. You almost did lose to Maryland. But you're right, Chase. I agree with you. Frustrating. Lawrence says that Tony White defense is really starting to show at FSU. You know, I don't know. Tony White's not the issue. You know, they've got a new transition. Their defense did hold Stanford to only 20 points. He wasn't the reason for that loss. It was their offense. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not too like keen on picking on Tony White. I want the best for him. He didn't leave Nebraska. He didn't leave Nebraska in a bad place. I think that's the best way to say it. He built something up. He left for a quote unquote better job with better athletes around him. It didn't pay off. He made a bad bet, but he tried his best. So all good. Lawrence says, you once said Tony White's going to be a head coach. Where do you see him coaching at if he leaves FSU after the season? You know, I was so convinced that he would go to UCLA, but now I could see UCLA having a hot run and finishing off with their current staff and saying, we don't want to lose these guys. So I don't know that he would go to UCLA. You never know what would happen. I don't know where he would go. I don't know what type of job he'd be attracted to. I don't know that he's as hyped up now. At Nebraska, they had like a top defense. Where's Florida State rank? NCAA total rankings, defense. I'll share this with you in 1 sec. Let me just get it pulled up. Okay. How good is Florida State's defense? Nebraska ranks 13th nationally. Pisses me off. Florida State ranks 35th nationally. Florida State, in theory, has better players than Nebraska does, right? I mean, they have higher rated recruits. They hit the portal pretty hard. They spend a lot of money. 35th nationally. And Nebraska's in the Big Ten there in the ACC. What the hell is that? I don't know what that means for Tony White. I couldn't even tell you. Serial, Sean, great to hang out with you. My first time hanging out with Sean was on Friday night. We had a good time. Hung out with a lot of people at that bar over in Old Town. That's the only reason I was able to survive that game, because I had a lot of people around me. If I would have been at home by myself watching it alone, I would have been freaking miserable. I'll tell you that. He says, keeping a positive mindset, usually at this time of year, we are where Wisconsin currently is. It could be much worse for us right now. That's a fact. It could be worse. Nebraska could be a 3-win team fighting and clawing to hope for a bowl game. At this point, you see a lot more positive, and you see that Nebraska could actually win 7 games realistically. John says, how bright is Dylan? I don't know that answer. Adam says, is Rule a good coach? You know, I think Rule is a good coach. Judy says, Moss. Who's a goober? Moss is talking about me, Judy. Moss comes in here and talks a lot of shit. Moss is a very negative. I don't know if he's a Nebraska fan or just a troll. He's got to be a Nebraska fan. He's just a little off. But I think this is like his 4th account. He's been in my chat trolling for a long time, Judy. But again, game is game. Say what you want to say. I have no problem with it. Jeff, Nebraska needs to get back to a power run game. You know what Rule said when he was hired. Get back to our roots. We've tried the pass heavy offense for 23 years now. Nebraska hasn't been pass heavy this year, I don't think. I mean, they haven't been balanced. They've been slightly leaning pass heavy, but I wouldn't call it pass heavy. They're still running the ball. The issue for Nebraska is that they don't have the players to run the ball, right? So if they wanted to run the ball more, they would need the backs to do so. They would need a Dante Dowdell to help out, and they don't have that right now. So if you're saying they need to get back to their roots like next year, I could argue that you're right. Like, let's get more of a running game, and let's get another back in who's highly paid. Do not know why they let Dante Dowdell go, but again, I'm not in charge of the money, and I'm not donating enough to make those decisions, so probably just didn't have it. But Yeah, right now, you've got to work with what you've got. Right now, Nebraska's elite on the outside. They have great receivers. Their tight end room is solid. Harburg's good. Lindenmeyer's been fantastic. You've got to work with what you got. Dylan, in theory, is one of the best players on your team. Work the shit out of the pass game, right? Use Emmett when you can. But this year, we're talking about now. We're not talking about the future. The future, you could talk about, well, we need to fire Donovan Raiola and hire a new offensive line coach. Okay, but that's future. How will that help today? It won't. I don't think it will. The future is, how do we run the ball more? How does that help today? It doesn't. If you run the shit out of the ball and Emmett gets hurt, or if you run the shit out of the ball to the point where the defense knows what to do against you, because all you can do is run the ball, you're eventually going to get beat. Eventually, one of these teams like Minnesota's going to come in and just take that away. You've got to have the balance. So I hope they figure out how to throw. That's my bigger concern. Figure out how to be a weapon on the outside. Figure out how to make your quarterback a real threat, and then I feel confident. Not try and establish a run game. I don't care about the run game enough. Let's get our best players activated. AJ says, I like the thought of a blank helmet and hell no names on the uniforms. Make them feel like they're literally at the bottom. I like it too, dude. I like no names on uniforms, no N on the helmet, strip them until they prove something. You know what I mean? Like, you got to earn respect. And the way they would have earned respect is beating Michigan. But they didn't beat Michigan. They had not earned respect. Beating Maryland, beating Michigan State, that wasn't enough. Beating Minnesota, I could have argued, was earning respect. That would have been the third kind of weaker opponent they played where they won as a big favorite. But you got to earn your respect. Take the fucking N off. You don't get to wear it yet. Let's see. Daniel, hey Connor, longtime Nebraska fan since the 60s. Really feel everybody's pain, but always GBR. At least we're all in the same boat, brother. Dave, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member, and thank you for the $50 super chat. Another guy I liked hanging out with on Friday night. Dave's very cool. He says, USC night game. Wish I could make it work with young kids. David, you got to get a nanny, a babysitter. Do something. USC at night, all black. I mean, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I couldn't miss it for the world. I don't even believe in Nebraska winning that game right now, but I don't care. I've just got to be there with my people to experience it. At night, all black. Wish you could be there, Dave. Butler can hold Northwestern to 20. Holgo's presser tomorrow. Since we can't pass protect, should we use the Maryland offensive game plan? Quick pass game, screens, mesh, and 20 rushes for EJ. I don't hate the idea. Let's rock. I'm down with that. And I'm sure they're going to have some sort of a game plan. These coaches watch other teams, right? They watch and see what's working around the country. Do something that works. There are a lot of teams who make it work. They've got a good quarterback who can get the ball out. It's just they're not allowing him to, or the plays aren't setting up for him to, or they're not forcing him to. How about get the ball out or TJ's going in? We could run that idea. I mean, it might create some drama, but you get my point. Butler absolutely can hold Northwestern. Butler can hold Northwestern to 13. I don't think Northwestern should score more than 13 on Nebraska's defense. If Northwestern's scoring more than 13, I'm going to be like, oh, God, this is going to be rough. Sean says, Rule is struggling. What happens if we don't win another game? Oh, then if we don't win another game, it's not going to happen. They're going to win at least one more. If they didn't win another game, I couldn't even tell you what would happen because it would be so bad. Matt Rule wouldn't get fired, but next year would be the deciding year. You would lose a lot of players to the portal. You'd probably lose Holgerson. Whether he was lost or whether he was gotten rid of, I don't know. There'd have to be some sort of a revamp. Do you remember 2021 when Scott Frost went and cleaned house and brought all these new guys in? That's when Donnie came in to be the O-line coach, actually. It would be similar to that. It would be all hands on deck, desperation. What we're doing is not working, and we got to figure it out. I don't think this is going to happen. I think Nebraska, in a worst-case scenario, wins 2. In my hopeful, optimistic scenario, wins 3. And in my dream scenario, wins 4 of the last 5. Got to win 2 of them. Got to win 3 of them, really. I don't even want to think about it, Sean. That's it. Let's see. Lawrence says, I would say Penn State should be better luck next year. They'll be lucky to win another game. Just better not be Nebraska. I don't know, bro. I think Penn State showed some heart against Iowa. Like they bounced back. They've got that new quarterback. That was his first game as a starter, right? They're gonna beat Michigan State and they're gonna beat Rutgers. That's what I'm looking at. They lose their next two, obviously. And then you've got Michigan State on the road, Nebraska at home, Rutgers on the road. They could win all three of these. I do think they go 2-1 in these. I don't think we're gonna see a Penn State team totally shit themselves and just fall out. You know what I mean? Like bottom has fallen out as much as it possibly can. Iowa was a pretty good team this year relative to what we thought they were going to be. I mean, they're going to get to 8 or 9 wins. So that was more impressive than I thought. I thought this was like a 7-8 win team. 9's realistic for them, especially the way Nebraska's playing. But yeah, Penn State's good. They're going to win a couple games. They'll win at least 2 of these last 3. That's how I'm looking at it. Let's see. I'm back to the bottom of the chat now. Moneyline says Nebraska should have hired Urban Meyer when they had the chance in 2023. They never wanted him, you know? Unfortunately, it was never even a conversation. I wish it would have been. I would have been really excited. Jacob says I'd put another tier because I think there's levels to the question mark tier because teams like USC and Washington look better than Penn State and Maryland. Slightly. I think USC and Washington look slightly better than Penn State and Maryland. However, I think that all of those teams would be in battles against each other. Washington, Maryland would be an extremely close game. USC, Maryland would be a close game. Penn State, USC, close game. Penn State, Maryland. I mean, I just think that question mark tier is a bunch of teams who would be in 3-point battles. That's the way I look at it. None of them are that much better. In theory, USC and Washington are better, but I watched them both play this weekend and other weekends. And they're not that good. They have, like, USC has, quote unquote, a signature win over Michigan that a lot of people are giving respect for, but they were at home, bad spot for Michigan. USC still extremely talented. It's just like if Nebraska was to beat USC next week, you know? So I don't look at that. Let's see. Moss in here just trolling. Yeah, I mean, he's just trolls super hard. If you guys entertain Moss, it's a waste of breath. He's been in the chat forever, just saying shit. Fred says, Connor, breaking news. Our offensive line still sucks. Yeah, it is what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is. There's nothing you're going to be able to fix. Charles, another troll comment. Cosplay Raiola can't be very bright. Boy can't even pick out his own clothes and pregame routine. Shake my head. I mean, to resort back to nonsense like this because you have nothing else to say about the way he plays or anything else shows that you aren't very bright, Charles. It's just the reality. When you nitpick stupid things, I had a friend. Oh, man, I can't believe I'm going to call this guy out. I had a friend who was getting jealous of me with girls around. And instead of him trying to uplift himself, he tried to take me down. So you know what he said? He goes, hey, girl. I'm not saying her name. Girl. Did you know Connor's bald? I'm 32 years old. There are a lot of bald guys at my age. So he goes, you know Connor's bald because he's trying to like make himself feel better and like prop himself up, right? It's just like a cheap shot. It's low. It's like dumb. It's like I don't get offended by it. The girl looks and she's like, what? I don't care that he's bald. It's like a desperation throw. When I see people talk about Raiola can't pick out his own clothes and his pregame routine and he sucks and da-da-da, that's what I think about you. You're lame. You're corny. You have nothing else to say because you don't have actual thoughts. You just regurgitate the same shit that everybody else does. You're a loser. You're basic. Charles, no disrespect. You're basic. I wish the best for you. And I want to uplift you and make you better. Like if you need coaching, if you need advice, if you need help, call me, like DM me. I'll give you advice on how to be a better man. But your lame comments like this just make you look like a fucking dunce. Like, corny, bruh. Anyway, the Dylan Raiola haters, my dad always said a quote. The average person is below average. So I don't try to help most people because the average guy is average. He's a loser, you know? But if you want help and you want to be better and you want to be smarter and have something actually, you know, smart to say, just call me and I'll point you in the right direction. Jose says Dowdell is not great at Kentucky. He wanted to get the bigger bag, and they paid. There are a lot of players like this, Jose. I was thinking about this the other day. There are so many players who left for other schools, and now those schools are underperforming. One prime example was the Georgia Tech receiver who left for Auburn, Eric Singleton, right? Eric Singleton left for Auburn for a bigger bag, obviously. Georgia Tech is now 7-0. They are a playoff contender, likely a playoff team at the rate they're going. Georgia Tech went and replaced him in the portal with an FIU receiver, Eric Rivers. And now Singleton's at Auburn, where their coach is on the hot seat, where the team's looking like shit. What'd he get? $200K? How much of a boost did Auburn give that Georgia Tech wasn't willing to pay? Could it have been that much? And that's one example. Hughes at Oregon, the running back who's redshirted now, I think he ran for 70 yards total this year. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons at Tulane. Tulane, playoff freaking contender. The dude is now sitting at home on his ass doing nothing because how much more did Oregon offer him? A few $100,000? I get it. If you're down bad, you're desperate, you need money, you come from nothing, you take what you can get. But if you're a good player like these guys are, why are you not betting on yourself? If you stay at these schools where you can actually get paid in the future, right? Dowdell at Nebraska would have still got paid, right? Dowdell's a bad example because Kentucky and Nebraska are both not that good right now. But use like a Hughes or a Singleton or whoever. Why would you leave when you could be on a championship program or a championship school? Maybe you're just betting the team was going to suck and you just made a bad bet. Seems like a big freaking risk, because if you do stick with your school where you're already a star, Hughes, for example, you have no chance of getting benched. Tulane was not benching Hughes. That dude was set in stone as the starter, right? He left and he's at home doing nothing. He works out. That's what he does. He's a personal trainer now. That's probably what he does. I'm making this up, but he doesn't do anything. Sad. These players need to get it through their head. He could have been an NFL running back who got a good contract out the gate and who obviously worked his way up and made more money as it went on. Yeah, I don't get it. Dowdell leaving Nebraska, same thing. He's not even the starting running back. Let's just check in on Dowdell. I mean, just for fun. Statistics. I don't want to see that. I want to see overall statistics. Stats. We're going to rushing leaders, and we're going to the SEC. The SEC where Kentucky plays. Scroll down here. That's the Big 12. Bang. Okay. Number 8 in the SEC. There are 16 teams in the SEC, I believe. Is Seth McGowan, the starting running back for Kentucky. He has 476 yards, averaging 5 yards a carry. Scroll all the way down here to number 26, 67 for 274, 4.1 yards a carry. It's okay, but how did he do it in Nebraska last year? Dowdell, stats, college. Okay. At Nebraska, Dante Dowdell had 143 carries for 614 yards, 4.3 yards per attempt. 12 touchdowns. He's now on pace for 500 yards, right? About 500. Wait, 274. How many games do you have left? I think 550. So he's on pace for 550 yards and 2 touchdowns. Okay. However, he's at Kentucky, who's arguably one of the worst teams in their entire conference in the SEC. So he's not getting as much recognition. He's not playing against or with as many good players, right? Why leave? If you ran for 615 at Nebraska last year, and that was in your very first year there, you would probably expect this dude would have run for 700 or more this year, right? I don't know. Just seems like he made a bad decision, like a lot of these guys have in the transfer portal. It is what it is. Okay. Stuart, thanks for being a member. He says, we need to drop a bunch of NIL on both lines. You can make a mediocre running back look good with a top-tier line. Freaking facts. We see it all over the place. Moss, does Connor live in Nebraska? I live in Arizona. I've never lived in Nebraska in my life. And you know that because you watch every single video I post. For 5 years, you've watched every video I've posted on all of your accounts. I don't know. Moss, come on. You know where I live. Jacob says we're 0-5 against the spread against Power 4 teams right now, and I don't think we changed that for the positive this week, unfortunately. Is that true? Wait, let me see. You're making me think. It might be true. ATS is against the spread, meaning if you cover the spread. Sorry. I sound like a dick saying that, but that's what ATS means. Okay, Big Ten. I'm sorry, I'm going back to Nebraska's schedule. I'm going to tell you what the spread was in every single game. Such a sicko. I remember all these. Okay, here we go. Nebraska was a 6-point favorite against Cincinnati. They did not cover 0-1. Nebraska was a 2.5 point. Well, they were a 3-point dog. We're going to call this a push. At game time, they were at game time, they were 2.5. I know. Okay, fine. Michigan will say they didn't cover, but they did cover because I had them at 3. Most people had them at 3. They moved down to 2.5 like the week of, halfway through the week. Fine, we'll say Michigan wasn't a cover. They're 0-2. Michigan State was a cover. They were 10.5-point favorites the entire week up until like an hour before the game. So Michigan State was a cover. That's 1-2. Maryland was not a cover. Minnesota was not a cover. Okay, so Nebraska's 1-4 against the spread. Jacob, I agree with that. We can settle on 1-4 against the spread. Let's see. Moss says since he wants Nebraska again, I promise you they do. Let's see. Kyle says, my goodness, Maryland, talk about choke artists. Man, UCLA is a good team. I don't even know if I would call that choking. I would just say they played a really, really strong team. UCLA and Maryland was a battle. I mean, it came down to the very wire. It was fun, you know? Let's see. See, Moss talks a lot of shit. He says a lot, but he at least can compliment me. You're bald, but you have a great smile. Thank you, Moss. What's this? Anyone who has put themselves... Oh, I was talking about the insecurity stuff before. Jordan says, imagine if we would have held on to Kawan Lacey. Dude, imagine. The problem is you can't get elite players to come when you can't win. Nebraska needs to win to get players like that, you know? Kelly says, Connor calls him a loser, proceeds with no disrespect. Well, it's not disrespect. It's just truth. There's a big difference. Like, if I was calling him a loser and he wasn't a loser, it's like a retard, right? Like, if you call a mentally handicapped person a retard, that's disrespectful and wrong. Like, I totally disagree with that. But if you call, like, you know, a person that who's not and they're actually doing those actions, it's different. I just have a way with words. I define things differently. So I try to, like, clarify when I say things because I can get off the rails. Poor Rule looks like he's looks like he lost. I don't know if he looks like he's lost. I'm not sure about that. Moneyline says Connor is the gambling app, bro. Throw easy to negotiate. I'm gonna start gambling on there. Oh, you mean navigate? Yes, it's easy to navigate when you get on there. I've actually made videos for them. If you go to like the tutorials on the website, you can see. I think I'm talking about how to use the site. So easy to navigate. Download the app. It's fun. It's easy. I like it a lot better than all the apps I've used before because I don't pay a vig. That's the main thing, you know. So much talk about Moss. Moss, you're popular tonight. My God. Jose says Dowdell's got a bag, though, probably enough to be set for life if he makes the right moves. I don't know that. I'm assuming he got $500,000, right? $400,000. How much do you think he got? $600,000? I mean, those aren't life-changing numbers. Think about all the pro athletes who went to the league for 1 year, 2 years, and got a small deal like that, $1 million at most. I mean, Jose, this is a false take. $100,000 and you'd be set for life? Brother, set for life, how much does it cost you to live? $11 a month? I mean, I'm just trying to wrap my head around where your thinking is on this. Scott, thank you for the reality check. Jose, let's be real. 100K is like $10 now. Exactly. All my friends make at least 100 grand and they're all struggling. Every single one of them making 100 grand a year. You guys are all funny. You guys are all hilarious. Jose, thank you. Yes, I need likes. Like the video if you haven't liked the video yet. I like talking to you guys. You guys are funny. I like all your chats and all your nonsense and the back and forth. You guys are funny guys and women. I'm mostly men in here. Co says, can we talk about how Ives hasn't been just bred to be a third down blocking running back? Yeah. Is he just not a good blocker? Why hasn't he been in those spots? Is it that it becomes too obvious that they're throwing down because Emmett's been the go-to where you have a little bit of a mismatch with the linebacker? I don't know. I don't know why they aren't doing that. I think Emmett's such a weapon. It's hard to keep him off the field. And also it must mean that Ives isn't in position and isn't ready. You would think they would know that's his potential added value in the backfield. And if they haven't pulled that out of him, maybe he's just not made for it. Maybe he's not built tough enough right now. We'll see. More of 100K in this economy is nothing. I love the side conversations in the chat. Guys, I've talked a long time. I've talked about a lot. I'm going to be back on Wednesday night, I think. Wednesday or Thursday. We'll talk about Northwestern. We'll talk about some of my picks for this week. And hopefully we have a better a better weekend. I'm happy that the game's early. 11 a.m. kickoff, great. Let's get it out of the way. No sweat. Hopefully they win. I can enjoy the rest of my Saturday. But okay. With all that said, thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Go Big Red.